I am an extremely passionate and committed human services professional who possesses an in-depth working knowledge of the psychological and sociological aspects of human development. I consider myself to be a cognitive behavioral specialist, believing that making a change in how one thinks brings about a change in what one does. Many shy away from therapy because they feel their situations are either unique or they are fearful, embarrassed, or ashamed to let others know they need help. SciSpot is my way of corralling pertinent personal, professional, and academic information on understanding human development in one place for all to access privately and even share with others. My personal mission statement is, I am driven by divine precepts and an undying passion to facilitate change in the lives of others. What's yours? Let SciSpot guide you through your healing and provide you with many other ways of becoming better today than you were yesterday. Come on in and join me.
Hey y'all, good evening and welcome to a special episode of SciSpot Live, welcoming in 2018. I'm your man as always, Sabir Arleen, and I'm so thankful, right, that I'm woke, because this is way past my bedtime, right? I actually had to set the alarm clock to make sure that I was up on time, and I woke up 10 minutes to 10, so I had a chance to get that stuff out the side of my mouth, you know, that stuff that happens when you fall asleep and stuff in your eyes, and, you know, comb my hair and all that stuff, and then get dressed so I can sit in and spend a few moments with you before you head out to the party, go to church, whatever it is that you do, you know, on New Year's Eve. I want to make sure I got a chance to holler at you and to close this year out and walk into 2018 with all my friends, my family, you know, those who have supported SciSpot throughout the years and other endeavors that I have participated in throughout the years. So welcome. So what I did, right, you know, I've been thinking, you know, about things that are important entering into 2018, right? Because if you start off the year the way you ended the year, then that's not necessarily a good thing, right? And I said not necessarily because many have ended this year purging their homes, purging themselves, purging their spirits of a lot of negativity to enter into a new year. But I don't say Happy New Year, I say Happy New You. Because this is all about change that you have to, you know, bring about, you know, within yourself. Because the years are going to keep rolling by. But if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you don't do anything different, right, it's going to be the same every year. So whatever, you know, things that you plan to do and you haven't done, you got to ask yourself why you haven't done them. Right? Because like I was listening to a Public Enemy's album, and they have what is it? We plan and God laughs, right? You know, so you know, God being the best of all planners, you know, whatever the outcome is going to be, it's going to be. But you can't continue to walk through life without a plan. You can't continue to leave out of your door even without having a plan, because life is about planning. Right? Now for me, I've always planned the end. So I function in the course of my day trying to be the best person that I can be to help somebody else. To help somebody else, because anytime I'm helping somebody else, I'm helping myself. So I'm always extending myself to other people. And sometimes, you know, we can get caught up and we can overextend ourselves into situations that are not what they appear to be. At the end of the day, the onus is on you as to whether you do or don't. 2018 has been here. 2018 has been here before tonight, right? And we knew it was coming. right? So there's no sense in trying to run around to do last minute shopping like you do for the other holidays. It's no sense in trying to do that because it's been coming since last year. 2018 has been coming. And I say last year because it's already over for me, 2017 that is. So what I want you to begin to look at is, there's a list of 10 things that I put together that I think are important, right? That we need to look at, you know, in our communities, right? To bring about change. So, let's get on with the list. Number 1 on the list. Nonprofits must partner with another organization in a joint venture. And when I say in a joint venture, I mean on an ongoing basis. Oftentimes you hear nonprofits collaborate and have a function, and that's it after that. At this stage in the game, if you haven't learned this, I'm going to give it to you now. Collaboration is the key to ongoing success. You see a lot of nonprofit organizations that have been around for years. They've not grown. They've not gotten any more income. They've not gotten any more clientele. They just exist. And some people are happy there. But I always tell nonprofits, go back to your mission statement. Because your mission statement is the driving force behind what it is that you do. It's the driving force behind what it is that you do. And I know it's a little scary out there when you partner up with people. Because people are shiesty. Right? They're selfish. But that's business. And if your skin is too thin to deal with those kind of things, get out now. Get out now. Because you have to be thick-skinned to enter into any kind of business, for-profit or non-profit. But listen, you got to start partnering up with somebody. And for those of you who have partnered up, add somebody else to that list. Reach out to another nonprofit organization. Reach out to another one. Add another one to that list. Because at the end of the day, this is how you build empires. Continuing to collaborate, continuing to extend trust to others. Right? Because there are people who, for instance, I have a 501c3. People can go under my umbrella and get grants. But there are people who've gotten $1 million grants. Right? And when you get those kind of grants, and people who provide good quality, solid services, consistent services, true services, they can come up under you because they have, you know, a resource at hand to apply for a grant. But they can't get the money. But if they go with you and under your umbrella, you help them grow and you grow from that too. Because you know when you go under somebody's umbrella, they get a percentage. But it's always about resources. It's always about connecting. So if you have a nonprofit, reach out to somebody. Don't continue to struggle on your own. Don't continue to just make it. Because that's not what your mission statement says. So reach out, connect with another nonprofit organization. Number 2 on that list. If you own a property or can share a space with another organization, do so. There's a lot of property owners, right, who are just letting property sit. And they're just waiting for, you know, certain taxations to pass, certain, you know, zoning notices to clear, and all those kind of things. In the meantime, the property is an eyesore. In the meantime, the property is going unused. It can be used. There are nonprofits out there such as, Opportunity Inc. They teach building maintenance, right? Get into some kind of partnership with them. Maybe they can come in and they can rehabilitate the place. But they're also teaching, so men and women are learning building maintenance and fixing up properties. And that's a relationship that begins. There's other companies, for-profit companies, right in your community. There's like Done Right Contractors, another brother from Philly, right? They do contracting work. You know, there's a lot of opportunity that can happen to start building up communities. Stop letting properties just sit. And for those of you who are getting paper, right, who are getting the funding, who have these large, you know, luxury places, you place with all these spaces, you know, one person sitting in one big giant office, or you got 2 conference rooms and all those kind of things like that. Share that space. Because, you know, every nonprofit is not getting money like that. And they can use this space. Share that space. You know, come to some kind of agreement. They can get a telephone line in there, or maybe you have an extra telephone line in there, and they can use that space. Lease it out. right? Barter. There's services that these nonprofits offer within their own organizations that can help build and be an asset to your organization, and vice versa. It's about building relationships. So it's real important. If you own a property, let somebody in. Let some of these nonprofits make use of that. Number 3 on that list, right? Start buying up those empty lots and convert them into a community resource such as, gardens. You don't have to keep going to the market. There's so much space that is out there in so many communities, right? You can use those empty lots and turn them into community gardens. And just like others come into our community and they set up all these tables and they vend and they sell us fruits and vegetables, you can do that right in your own community. Right in your own community. Right? But also, what about our seniors? They want somewhere where they can sit and they can chill and relax under a nice shady tree, and they'll even help with gardening, flower beds and all those things, but provide them with a nice safe place that they can sit and relax, right? And don't have to be exposed to all the shenanigans, around the community. They will love that. And for our children, right? I'm talking about our younger children. Who want to, go out and play with their toys and things like that. And in many communities can't do that safely because we have drive-by shootings and all kind of other ratchetness that goes on sometimes in the community. But it's a safe place where they can sit right there with you, right there, with the parents right there, with block members that can sit and make sure that they're protected. But part of that protection also means eradicating that nonsense that goes on. You got to get the crack games off the corners. You got to get that nonsense off the steps. Take that stuff inside. You want to gamble, you want to do your thing, I get it, I got it. But it shouldn't be outside in the community. There was a time when we didn't do those kind of things. We saw Miss Mary coming up the street, we pick up the bones and put them things away. Hey, Miss Mary, how you doing? As soon as Miss Mary get in the house, we go on and do our thing. But you had all these empty lots, right? All these empty lots. I got a lot of missing teeth and I can show you empty lots in my mouth, right? And when you have these empty spaces, right, eventually everything begins to cave in with it. So take these empty spaces, convert them. It doesn't cost much to buy the land. It doesn't cost much to maintain the land. I've seen so many people get the land and turn around and use it for a parking space for their car. How selfish. How selfish. I've also seen people live right across the street from the park, where I once did, right across from Hunting Park. People will let their kids play up and down the street, throw balls and all kind of stuff, damaging people's cars. And when they wouldn't walk right across the street, here you can create a spaces right there on the block where you can keep an eye on your children and make sure they're safe there, right? Number 4 on that list is have more open dialogue with your children about sexual relations. Now, I know some of y'all cringe, when I said talk about sex with your kids, but listen, when my children's mother called me, I think they were 15 years old, and she was at the doctor with them, the gynecologist. And she called me and she asked me, she said, what do you think about them getting birth control pills? I said, well, what you waiting for? Absolutely. See, a lot of people take the position of, because if you get them birth control pills, that's encouraging sex. Excuse me. They're having sex anyway. They're having sex anyway. You can't stop it. It makes more sense to have conversation with them about contraception, right? So they're not in high school, in junior high school, I guess they call it middle school now, walking around with their bellies out because they're pregnant. Right? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for them to be pregnant and you having to take care of their children, which happens in many cases. But talk to them about that. There's STDs out there that you'll get for life. They won't go away. They won't. But another important aspect of having this conversation also has to do with us brothers. Us brothers who have nieces, who have daughters, who have, young ladies in our family. We should be telling them the truth. He don't want to do nothing but hit it. That's all he want to do. Because until you get to the position of being mature-minded and mature in your condition and stop running around with the mindset of every rabbit needs to have more than one hole, that kind of stuff, right? Until you get there, it's yard out. And we know that. So you got to start having real discussion about male conduct. You have to start having that discussion, right? Because we know it's plenty girls walking around. You got these dudes standing at the Chinese store, standing out and you know, at the corner, hitting on her every day, on and on, wearing it down, relentless. Relentless. And if she look good, and whatever her mindset is about her development and what she has and her learnings about what she has and what she has and what it does to men, right? Listen, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And especially when you start looking at how many single parent homes are in the community, right? So there's always that daddy. Yeah, you know daddy. He out there clocking, making paper. He can give her things that the real daddy can't give. The game. Teach her the game. And same way with boys. We expose little boys to a lot of situations that we wouldn't expose girls to. We send a little boy to a daycare center. Anywhere. Run by anybody. But would you send your little girl to a daycare center run by all males? Absolutely not. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? We'll take little boys and we'll let them go anywhere. We can send them to a place that's run by all women and be happy about it. We can send them to a place run by all males and be happy about it. Right? But you won't take your little girl and send her to a place where it's run by males. So little boys are subjected to a whole lot of things. A whole lot of conditioning happens to young males that goes unnoticed, that goes unaddressed for a long time. And then when they wind up in the system, you wonder why. Because males are conditioned to just get it done, and whatever the cost is, just get it done. Right? That's how men are conditioned. That's how males are conditioned. No matter what, we get it done. We learn to take things on the chin and keep it moving. Right? So you become, you know, conditioned to just get it done, take the pain, take the suffering, just take. Got to stop that. We got to be more nurturing to our males. Teach them to be more loving, more caring, more empathetic about situations. Right? We got to begin to do that. But you got to start talking about sex. Stop telling them not to have it because they're having it. They're having it. And they're winding up with conditions that they'll never get rid of. But it also conditions their spirit. Because sex is a spiritual connection. And many of us don't realize that until late in the game. It's a spiritual connection. You know? When you have sex, this is somebody entering into your spirit, not just your soul. And for a male, you know, that's part of him. When he's ejaculating, he's losing a part of his spirit and is entering into someone else. We have to have those conversations. And we're afraid to. Probably because nobody had the conversation with us. And probably because we don't know how to approach it from an educative stance. An educative stance. We'll just go online, look up some things, and have some discussions about those kind of things. Right? The next thing on that list, right? Stop the divide. Stop this hate. We're divided by so many things that don't make any sense. Right? We have conflict with one another about, you know, the N-word. Don't use the N-word. Right? We justify, you know, the AH and the ER and so on and so forth. And we get mad when whites or others use it. And we get mad, but we still use it ourselves. But at the end of the day, we've always used it. So why get into an argument because somebody puts an ER or AH on it? That doesn't even matter. We still have arguments about whether I'm black or African American. The dumbest thing in the world. And we wonder why others look at us so foolishly. Because we are foolish. That's foolish. We're divided by religion. We're divided by light skin and dark skin. Right? We have practices we have racist practices ourselves, but yet and still when somebody else expresses the same content about their race, we're offended. But we need to start looking at our own dialogue. And I often tell people about the story. I grew up in South Philadelphia in the 60s and the 70s, right? I know what it was like to be chased by whites, to have rocks thrown at me, to have bottles thrown at me, to have, to be on the 29 or the 79 bus coming from school, going to school, and being attacked, by white adults and kids. I didn't grow up hating anybody. Hate is a choice. It's a choice. So we need to stop all that hatred. Like not the person, like not what they do. We don't like being lumped into one group. Why do we lump others into one group? Why? Why? You deal with the incidents as they happen. You address the incidents as they happen. And you address the person who committed that. Listen, we're not the only ones killing each other. The Civil War was not a black man's war. If you know your history, the Civil War was a white man's war. And if you look at the History channels, it'll tell you that. The whites did not want blacks involved. The only reason why blacks got involved in the Civil War, because it was fighting for their liberties and their rights and our rights as well. So why sit by and watch two groups fight when one of those groups is fighting to eradicate certain conditions for people of color? Do your history, folks. Learn your history. Right? That wasn't our war. So we're not the only ones killing each other. Stop with that belief that we're animalistic. That that's all we're going to be is thugs, pimps, and thieves. That's not all we are. We need to have different dialogue. Stop sitting around and engaging in dialogue, about hate of others. Right? When I got married this fourth time, there were some people in my wife's family, are, who are against an interfaith marriage. Her pastor wouldn't even marry us. After him and I sat down and had the conversation, and he said he was good. He said he didn't set well within the spirit, but he never outright said that. So he delayed calling back. You don't know your book. But you know what? Every other pastor that I call, every other Christian who I call, who I know are pastors, are ministers, they had no problem whatsoever. Sure, but I'm not available on that day. But they had no problem. But her pastor did. But her pastor's not the only one. Right? We need to get out of all of that. You need to start reading for yourself and learning for yourself, and stop letting somebody else stand before you and tell you things and you go running around regurgitating like you know. Because that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. So you need to learn what it is you're practicing. And at the end of the day, we all serve one God, the same God. The same God. One God. Regardless of what you call him. So we need to get better with those kind of things, man. We don't indulge in certain dialogue with certain people because they practice certain things. That's stupid. Right? So we need to stop the hate. We need to stop the divide. And we need to start being more unified in our approach to the betterment for all of us. Because even if I don't live to see this change come about, right? The change is a process. It's coming. But even if I don't live to see it come to fruition, right? We still have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, all these other folks, right? Who are going to be there. Because it's going to happen. You'll never get rid of hatred. But you can get rid of it within yourself. Stop practicing it. Stop practicing it. Extend yourself to others. Stop believing everything you see on television. Stop believing it. You can sit down and watch television all day long and you will hear the same thing about the same groups of people. It's by design, folks. Stop believing it. Look around you. How many of you know Muslims? How many of you know Catholics? How many of you know Jews? How many of you, been to other religious places of worship? What, you afraid to walk into places? I've been to church with my wife. Your belief is your belief. My belief is my belief. What you come away from any discussion, whether it's about religion, whether it's about politics, whether it's about anything in the world, your beliefs are not going to change. Those are your convictions. But they're yours. They're personal. They're personal. But you got to read and understand what it is that you're practicing, what it is that you're convicted of. Right? But we have to stop this divide, man. You still got the mindsets of the Hatfields and McCoys in many of our communities. Many of our communities, you got that one family, that notorious family. You know, it's always the one family. It don't matter at the end of the day, man. Because when it goes down, it goes down. We're doing all this marching to stop the violence. Stop the violence in your home. Stop disrespecting one another in the home. That's where it has to start. Stop doing it in the home. Make your home a safe haven. A place of peace, serenity. A safe sanctuary. Right? But it's time to stop the hate. Look at the language that you use. Look at the dialogue that you have about other groups of people. And then listen to their dialogue. And ask yourself, are we saying the same thing? And I have a video, my daddy's right here, YouTube educational station, of that same name, the same title. Are we saying the same thing? When you listen to black nationalists, when you listen to white nationalists, right, so-called, right, listen to the dialogue. Just listen. But there's factions out there that mean no good to anything. Come on, let's go back to mankind has this condition. Remember Cain and Abel? The first murder of one's own sibling? This is within mankind. It's not going anywhere. Right? But we need to stop that divide. The next thing on that list is take back your community. Use your cell phone for more than ratchetness. Now, here's the thing. Anytime there's an officer-involved shooting, right? Especially if there's a white officer involved in a shooting of someone black. Everybody has a cell phone now. Everybody's putting it on Facebook. Everybody's putting it on all forms of social media. Everybody's doing it. But 34 people are at the bar, standing outside, chilling with that whatnot. Lil Boo Boo walk up, blast main man, and walks off. Not runs off, walks off. Ain't nobody see nothing. Ain't nobody got a cell phone shot or nothing. Listen, I'm not telling you to put yourself in harm's way. What I am telling you is this. That we keep depending on law enforcement to change the conditions of our environments. That's not what they're supposed to do. You need to understand what law enforcement is supposed to do. Just that. Enforce the law. Not come out and get in the middle of some stuff. Right? Be investigating the situation and get cussed out, taunted, provoked, and all those other things. That's not what law enforcement does. Their job is not to clean up our mess. It's our mess. And many who are still in that life are contributing to that mess. So it's time for you to clean yourself up and get out of that mess. Get out of that mess. Right? But you know, it takes every bit of 2 seconds to get a picture of a person who just did a drive-by shooting. It takes every bit of 2 seconds to take a picture, you know, of some violent act. Because it's just a matter of time before it happens. My father was murdered. He wasn't doing nothing to nobody. He wasn't involved in anything. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful, right, for the homicide division in Philadelphia and a host of other police officers and detectives involved to get the murderer, get him off the street, right, and hold him accountable. Because this is about accountability, folks. It's about accountability. And we have bought into criminal thinking by turning a blind eye to these events. But then as soon as something go down, we out in the street marching. But you can put an end to it. And nobody say you got to put your name on it. Hell, you can. It's the way we got digital exchange now. You can sit, hey, look at this. Let's check this out. It happened in public, right? It's a public incident. It can be filmed. It can be used in a court of law. But you got to put an end to this stuff. You got to put an end to this stuff. There was a fight out in the street. Everybody ran over with their cell phones and videotaped it. Little girl got beat up, got jumped. And they showed you the kids just gathering around with their phones videotaping the fight. Oh, I see it all the time. I block all that stuff off my page. But you need to start helping law enforcement bring law and order to the community. We can't even sit on the steps anymore without gunplay going on, without bad behavior going on. We can't even do it anymore. How are you calling this a community? They're just a bunch of buildings with people living in it. A community implies unity, community, commonality, unifying of people, community, right? That's why we call it the hood now, because it ain't the neighborhood no more. It's just the hood in so many cases. And we can change that, man. We can change that. So stop just whipping out your cell phones when it's something that you want to show everybody that so-and-so did. Because that's the same thing that happens to us as the people. People only catch us doing bad things and put that on TV, on the news. Same way with fathers. You'll hear all day long about deadbeat dads, but you don't hear about the things that we do. Like when you walk into the house and you turn that switch on and lights come on. Don't nobody talk about that. That's the only time you know what dad does. When you hit that switch and it don't come on. Oh, your father ain't paid the bill. But his father's involved in the lives of their children. You won't see that on news. It'll be a special interest story. Live at 5. You won't see the good things that fathers do. Don't look for those things. Don't look for people's approval. Don't look to see those things on TV. Stop letting that thing blind you from what's really happening. We're making progress as a people, but we can do better. We can do better. The next thing on that list, learn more about politics and teach our youth. Listen, if nothing else, I think this past year, with the whole presidential candidacy, a lot of people began to pay more attention to politics. It began with President Obama, but even more so now, people have been paying closer attention to politics, right? And if nothing else, you should have also realized that the Civil War is still alive and kicking. That's what, if you don't know anything about the Civil War, you had clear evidence with this past presidential candidacy that the Civil War is still going on. But it ain't our war. We ain't got a dog in that fight. We just happen to be in the middle of all the shenanigans that take place, right? Because we become the target when all this stuff rises up, right? But you have to start looking at politicians. We've divided, another thing we're divided by is parties, Democrats and Republicans. Oh, you need to vote, you need to be a Democrat. Why? Because I'm black, I got to be a Democrat? You don't even understand anything about politics. You don't understand anything about politics, right? Teach your children, but you need to learn yourself about political processes. There are judges. There are court-appointed people. There are people we put in offices that have been in there for years, forever. And we have had some of those people recently removed from office. But stop being part of the good old boys club. See, our youth ain't having it. They're confronting issues. They're confronting situations. Dude, you've been in office for 3 terms and nothing has changed. They're out there. They see the things that they want in their community. They see the things they need in their community. They see the things that happen in the community. Teach them who's responsible. Teach them who's up in Harrisburg. Teach them who's in the White House. Teach them those things. Right? Because it's time to start removing people. Give other people an opportunity. If they mess up, they mess up. But stop giving the same people, positions. What, 14, 17 years, Philadelphia had a black administration? Look at what happened to Philadelphia in all these years of a black administration. Look for yourself. It's time to make changes. And it's time to let people know, we will take your behind out of office. We will remove you from office. You will not be in office another term. I don't care who wins. Boo-Boo the Fool can win for all I care, but it won't be you. But you got to teach your children about politics. Next thing on the list. Religious leaders must get out and engage their neighbors regardless of different beliefs. Listen, I've been to many masjids. And I can tell you that the first thing I'm looking for or thinking about on my way there is am I going to get a parking space? How selfish of me. Because I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm parking in somebody else's community. Right? I'm taking up somebody else's parking space who lives in that community for about an hour and a half on a Friday afternoon. There's churches, synagogues, masjids, where you find all the parking spaces taken up in the entire community, right? Where the people in that community have to park blocks away just to park their cars somewhere, wait for us to leave the service, and then rush to go get their vehicle so they can park back in front of their homes, right? Cars double parked, all kind of stuff. Most of these institutions that are in these neighborhoods know absolutely nothing about their neighbors. And the only time they want to engage their neighbors is when they want to talk about the religion. What you should be doing is walking around and seeing the needs of the community members. Go knock on the door. Miss Mary, how you doing today? You need anything? How's your family? Everybody well? Y'all good? Okay, listen, because you can come on down and let us know, and we'll help you out. And you know, you don't have to be Muslim. No, you don't have to be Catholic. No, you don't have to be no. Just come on down. Because that's what we do. That's how we live. That's what we're practicing. Right? Random acts of charity. Right? That's what we're practicing. And you go get to know all your people. You invite the people and you have functions and invite them in. Knock on the door, come on down, come on down. No, you don't have to be part of, no, that don't have to be your belief. We believe in God, come on down. You ask most of the pastors, or imams, or ministers, you know, who lives, I don't know. I think some of them might come to the congregation, some might come to the service, I don't know. But our religious leaders need to be more involved. More involved. You done set up shop there, you need to know who your people are. The next thing on that list, invite youth to your home to view and discuss educational videos. And when I'm talking about educational videos, I'm talking about, hey, take them to my Daddy's Right Here YouTube educational station. Pull up a video. Sit there and watch it with them. And have open discussion with them. See where the head is at. Give them some guidance. Give them some direction. You remember it was always that one person that lived in the community where anytime you were looking for your child, you go down to Miss Mary's house and see if he's in there, because that's probably where he is. And you go down there, knock on the door, Miss Mary, come on in! She's sitting in the kitchen. They all are sitting in the house and stuff like that. Hi, how you doing? Yeah, there he is over there. Yeah, he right there. He all right. I fed him too. Yeah. Sent him to the store for me because I ran out of sugar. But he right there, I got him. Yeah. We need to get back to those days. We need to get back to the times when those things happen. Right? Open up your door. You ain't got to be patting people down and smelling their breath when they see your eyes. They need to be in a safe place. Right? So bring them into the house. Let them come on in. Let their friends come on in the house and you sit down and y'all talk together. I was watching, what was that? What's that? Boys in the Hood? Menace to Society. It was Menace. I saw Boys in the Hood the other day too. Menace to Society. Where dude lived with his grandparents. And every time homeboy came over, grandpa would make them sit down. Sit down, let me talk to you. And he would give them this whole spill. Well, we got away from those days. We got away from those days, man. We're scared of our youth. We're scared to have open dialogue. You got to know what they're thinking. You got to know where their thinking is. You got to teach them how to problem solve. Because this ain't problem solving. That's creating more of a problem. We got to teach them to be independent thinkers. To begin to look at things. To begin to assess and evaluate situations. And how they can better deal with situations. So get them some videos. Right? Listen. Boys in the Hood. South Central. What was the other one? It's a couple of them that look at family dynamics. And they begin to watch them and they begin to relate. And say, yo, that's how, you know what I'm saying? You know, I wouldn't look at nothing like Belly or nothing like that. Don't go all in. But, you know, have them look at things and get where their thinking is and ask them what their thoughts are about particular things happening. And they begin to tell you the story of how they living on the street and what they're subjected to in the street. These young boys will tell you in a minute. Yo, Mr. Sabir, with all due respect, I'm not giving up my gun. Until all this is cleaned up and I don't feel like, you know, I'm in fear. I'm not putting down my gun. We keep telling the young boys to put the guns down. But we ain't doing nothing to help clean up the streets. You got old heads out there, 30, 40 years old, on the corner clocking with 13, 15, 17-year-olds. Something wrong with that picture. We need to bring the respect back. Right? But you get that by opening up your door. Bringing these young people into your homes and having discussions with them. Teach them problem solving. Because the problem solving that they have right now, based on what many of them experiencing in their homes, it ain't good. All you have to do is look at the divorce rate. All you have to do is look at the failed relationship rate. All you have to do is look at the single parent led environments. Right? That tells you what kind of learnings they have. That tells you what kind of learnings they have. So bring them on into the house and have them watch some episodes of Spot or The Wise View, right? Have them come in and watch some footage on, you know, on Malcolm, on Martin. I mean, it's so many people that they can watch, you know, videos on, and you can have discussion with them to help guide them, you know, into the direction they need to be going in. Because we're having too much dialogue, you know, about all the wrong things. I wasn't taught hate. My mother didn't sit down and teach us about hating anybody. You know, we were learning. I was listening. Everything, I was red, black, and green. Red, black, and green this. Red, black, and green that. There were a couple of African masks up on the wall. But it was always about the betterment of the people. It was always about the struggle. It was all about improving. Right? She spent time, you know, making sure we did our homework. Those kind of things are important. You know, you get kids into the house and get together and they start learning how to help one another. You know, they're struggling with math or English or history or something like that. You know, we can sit down at Miss Mary's house and we're going to go over there and we're going to have a study group, book club. You know, I'll give you books. You want to start a book club? I'll send you free copies of my book, Code Black. You know, so you can sit down and have a book club and help our youth get a better understanding of what we came through and what we're working toward. Right? Stop telling them all this other negative stuff. Yeah, you going to school and they teaching you their history and so forth. Listen, this is what we've been getting in school all the while. Right? You give them the added historical events. Because that's not going to change in the school system. That's part of the curriculum. I need for you to get through school. That's what I need you to do. I need you to go to school when I send you. You need to know what's happening in school. Because so many kids don't want to go because so much is happening in school other than learning. Right? But start getting some youth together. Hang out with your child and their friends. Take them out, just hang out with them and talk to them more. Parks and libraries are free, and don't nothing go on in them that need to be going into them positive. It ain't nothing just to get a ball and a bat and a football, a deck of cards, a board game. Me and my kids, we played Monopoly all the time. I was always the banker, of course, but they stopped that too. They shut me down, but Board games are great. Not take get you know, they got video games. Sit down and learn a video game. Listen, you see a kid light up watching you be a fool trying to learn some of these video games, but it's a moment. It's a moment. And they'll tell you so many things, man. They'll tell you so many things. Things that you think you know about them. My mother would never know the things that I went through as a child out of her view. Always said stay on the steps. I always got off the steps. The last thing on that list is the most important thing, right? I want you to tell yourself, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up. Nothing can stop me. Y'all have a happy 2018. I love you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Listen, be safe out there. And no matter what, stay the course. Peace.